to another episode of Metal Dude. I'm your host, Chuck Parnell. With me is my Lone Ranger to my Tonto, Mick Rotella.
Hello, hello.
Yes. Where have you come from?
Where have I come from?
Give us some history. Give the audience some history.
Little bit of history. Well, you know, I've played around the scene, Minneapolis, quite a bit, especially the last few years. I grew up in Minneapolis, playing out in bands and everything. But I've also, toured the country in other various projects, Texas and South Carolina, Georgia, those kinds of places. But here...
Georgia, sweet.
Georgia, yeah, well, yeah.
See, I miss Georgia. I'm originally from Atlanta, and I can't believe I live in Minnesota. I'm just kidding. I love Minnesota. Vikings, all the way.
He's lying.
Come on, you can't make up your mind. America, England, America. I mean, come on.
Well, maybe. But I've played out quite a bit with other bands. We both know Matricus, whatever. I was in there for a little while. I'm still very good friends with
Greek god of metal or music, something like that.
You know what? I don't even know how to pronounce it, let alone know what the meaning is. So we'll just.
And you even played in the band.
I was in the band. Yeah.
I think I met you in that one band that bears not a name. That we speak not its name.
Yeah. More importantly, who the main person in that band was. So.
Right. Yes. Exactly.
But we can't talk about the other members.
Right. Well, yeah, because I met you through them, through a mutual friend, Todd Jameson.
Again, with the mediocre bars. Or I knew him way back when there were We'll Try Better bars,
Right.
That kind of thing. And then Madman, you knew Madman, drummer.
Yep.
That's kind of where we all got together and really kind of, when I was playing with them, kind of got me to kind of where I am today and playing out, doing different projects. I've been in a lot of cover bands. I've been in some tribute bands. I've been in original bands, Want
to elaborate on the difference between cover and tribute?
Cover bands, I was in one not that long ago. I think a cover band to me is more, they'll play more a variety of music. We did everything from AC/DC to Katy Perry to Kiss to, a lot of the things, whatever gets people moving,
If you've ever seen Mick on stage, can you see him doing his stage persona while playing Katy Perry?
It was awesome.
Did you have a little step?
I did. I do my step, I'll have to bring my step in here.
We should do that sometime.
Maybe I should have it here when I'm talking is where I have my step.
Well, then you'll cover up the sign. You can't cover up the banner.
I'll be over here. Or maybe I could just be in front of you. If we cover you up, that might not be so bad, right?
Oh yeah, our director will love that.
And then, a cover band, like I said, I think does more variety of things. We played a lot more smaller bars,
right.
Way up north and everything. Tribute band is more like you take a specific band that you're trying to emulate, I'm doing Alice in Chains tribute band right now, Junkhead. I'm in ACK, which is Ace Frehley tribute band, which is awesome.
Love the name.
ACK. And if you're a Kiss fan, you know what ACK means. I'm not even going to explain that, because if you don't get it, you're obviously not that deep.
Electric Eye, the Priest cover, or the local Priest cover band.
They're awesome, man.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I just saw them the other night, and, they always seem to play along with... It was the Iron Maiden tribute act.
Made in Minneapolis.
Made in Minneapolis. God, I'm sorry, I forgot their name.
That's right.
They're phenomenal. Those guys are really nail everything, and really take pride in how well they do, So, I've done a lot of those kinds of things and, doing soundtrack work a little bit on your show and another project that, we got going on, the Suicide Alive project, that we're... happy to be involved with and taking a lot of local bands and writing together and doing something similar to Hearing Aid. Hearing Aid.
Right.
I want to put that I out of there.
The suicide awareness CD we got going. If you've ever seen Metal Dude before, it's a little bit different concept now, but Mick had written the intro music for the previous, 6, 8 episodes, I forget now. But yeah, you had written that.
And I was actually on one of the episodes, too.
Yeah?
And for some reason, I don't think I even seen that one.
Really?
I don't think I did. I don't know why. Maybe I'm busy. I don't know how these bands take up my time.
I think you missed out because I don't think I can post it anymore.
That was when I was with Matricus, whatever you want to say.
Greek god of heavy metal or music, I forget which one it is.
And we played at Pom's that night and, filmed the whole thing. So that was actually a pretty cool episode. But I will tell you just kind of quick, that gig that night, I don't think I've ever been so tired after a gig. Because I think we went on like after midnight. It was like on a Wednesday. And the next day I was just dying. And I'm like, I don't know why. Maybe it was the interview. I don't know.
It was probably, yeah.
Could have been the interview.
I bored you with the interview, wore you out, made you tired. You didn't get to speak much because you were the new guy. So
I was. A couple sentences with that. But I do remember Long Hair trying to pick your nose on that one.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, and you're all nervous. You're like, hi, I'm Mick.
I
play
was?
guitar.
I probably didn't have enough to drink. But.
Well, on that note, like I said, we're a little different concept nowadays. We're talking about local, original. We'll talk about cover bands as well. Also throwing in a little bit of history on 80s, 90s, the glam scene, the thrash scene, a little bit of all the alternative scene, but the punk scene, hard rock, heavy metal, punk. On that note, tonight's episode, we're going to be talking about Ratt. If anybody's familiar with Ratt, I believe they came out in about 82, 83. Hit it from LA. Came along with Motley Crue, Wasp, escapes me of all the other 80s. Dawkins at the time, all the what I call the LA or the Sunset Strip metal, because I don't call it glam, because it didn't start as a glam band.
I don't know that they ever were glam necessarily either. I think they were kind of hard to define. They weren't really kind of the Judas Priest type of leather and jean jacket, but they weren't quite the New York Dolls type of thing. And I think their musicianship was a notch above most bands too. So they're kind of hard to define. I think if you can kind of group them all together, which is I think what we're going to find later on is how much they kind of all just kind of mix together. You might have this, but then you had this. Motley Crue would be a good one where you had Shout the Devil Look, and then you had, the
you
Theater of Pain.
One extreme to the other.
So where do you really kind of draw the line and say what they were? But they kind of all mixed together, and Ratt certainly had a lot of that in there. Certainly one of my favorite bands of all time, and I think that Invasion of Your Privacy is probably on my top 3 of records of all time.
Really?
I loved it that much, and the production on that record, they did things on that record that I haven't really heard any other place if you really pay attention to it. So I was a big Ratt fan back in the day.
I remember seeing Round and Round, I think it was one morning before school. And I'm like, well, I know the old guy. Who's the old guy? I know the old guy sitting at the table.
Milton Berle.
Oh my God, it's the old guy in drag.
Yeah.
What the? Oh. And then later I found out that it was the drag persona was made after some character he had. I forget what the character name is now. But I was just watching. I was like, I know that guy.
Yeah.
Here's my dad. He goes, is that Milton Berle? I'm like, yes, that's the name. And I remember going to school, and it was like the big thing that day. Everybody was talking about Round and Round.
Yeah.
Which I was surprised with Ratt. Like you're saying, Invasion of Your Privacy was great. I liked Dancing Undercover. I liked Reach for the Sky, as weird as that sounds.
I absolutely loved those records too. For me, they were still great. It didn't hit me as much as obviously Invasion did, but I still was such a huge fan up until that point.
Well, I was surprised that Round and Round was the big hit, and then they never had anything else that even came close to that. Now we're talking the mainstream chart here, I'm saying, but everybody, metal fans or whatever, always had what they liked. As a big Body Talk fan,
loved that was a great one. And you remember the movie that was on?
Yeah, Golden Child.
Yes, Eddie Murphy. Yeah.
And the drug dealers or whatever, the druggies or whatever they were, sitting there, and that's what's playing while he's going in there, and the girl's beating the crap out of everybody, and he's sitting back, a couple hits here and there, but
they were definitely They had some great music. I think a lot of times when bands try to get really popular on purpose, they kind of lose that edge and lose a lot of their fans. Some bands do go beyond and do make it big, but I think they were one of those ones that had lost their edge after they tried to be so poppy. You know, You listen to lack of communication, or you think you're tough, and then you listen to later things like "I Want a Woman" or "Way Cool Junior," and I liked both of those songs too, but they just didn't hit you like that rawness did in the beginning. So
one thing I always saw or always kind of noticed on my end, they kind of followed Motley Crue. Everything Motley Crue did when Motley Crue was, did Shout at the Devil. I mean, Shout at the Devil and Dr. Feelgood's like night and day.
yeah,
And Motley Crue started doing more of the, shouldn't say poppy, but started to become mainstream.
more hits,
Right.
really.
Everything that they did, Ratt kind of seemed to follow suit.
Yeah,
They tried to do the whole, like you were saying, they tried to open up, be more mainstream, try
Yeah.
to make more hits, and it didn't work with Ratt. They should have stuck with what they were doing. I think with Out of the Cellar, Invasion of
Yeah.
Privacy, take Body Talk and just make an album like that.
it's kind of funny if you look at all these bands, they all seem to kind of follow somebody else, and they always seem to follow bands. Like let's say for instance Kiss, it was well known that they followed Bon Jovi. They actually did try to do exactly what Bon Jovi did. But Bon Jovi kind of was, I won't say they were directly influenced by Kiss, but they must have been at some point.
Right.
And here you've got these bands following bands that are below them, and then you had this kind of swirl. So I think that's probably what happened really with a lot of these bands, is like one band would have a hit and then we got to all do that, and it's
Right.
like, just stay the course, I mean, people kind of give AC/DC some guff over, well, you made the same record for the last 40 years. Doesn't matter. Most of them are great,
Right.
and you know what to expect by them, and they're all awesome,
I wish you could remember what they always say with Yngwie. Critics and everything. Well, critics always harass him about playing. Was it the same 3 chords or something like that?
Well, he pretty much does the same guitar stuff in every song,
But in an interview, I thought he had one of the best answers, because AC/DC's been doing it for 20 years. Why don't you go harass them?
Yeah, it's
But
pretty
nobody
much true.
harasses AC/DC for
Yeah.
this.
It's pretty true. It's one of those things where you people will say that about AC/DC kind of like between people, but you would never go up to them and say, hey, what are you doing? Why don't you guys do some I don't
Change
know.
something out.
Yeah, some punkabilly or something. I don't know. But it just all turns good. It's like if it's not broke, don't fix it.
I picture Malcolm with a ukulele, Angus still with the guitar, and Brian Johnson. They're trying to do what would you call it? Hillbilly?
Punkabilly.
Punkabilly. Punkabilly.
And that's actually a real form of music, by the way.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think a lot of those bands just kind of followed each other and really kind of just followed each other down.
Yeah.
And it kind of takes us to one point where when the whole grunge thing happened and the music shifted, a lot of those bands try to change with it and do that. Not so much Ratt, I don't think, but I know there was a lot of bands that really tried to do that, and it just failed. But
The strangest thing I ever saw in that era was Dave Mustaine of Megadeth in a flannel shirt.
yeah, I
He
remember
followed
that.
somebody telling him, hey, do this, and they'll notice you.
Yeah,
And I think to this day he hates that.
well, yeah.
He counts that as like one of the biggest mistakes he made.
Isn't he wearing that like in the video for like For Closure of a Dream or something
Yeah.
like that? I think
Saw him live with it on the Euthanasia tour.
well, maybe it was just cheap wardrobe. Maybe he thought,
Yeah.
But then flannel shirts you could buy them for $5, and when that whole thing blew up, then he was like, go to Dayton's, you can buy them for $65. But that kind of is the opposite of what they're trying to do, really.
Right,
You know what I
exactly.
mean?
It became popular. Ralph Lauren's making flannel shirts with a little horse and
Yeah,
little
and they
polo
didn't
dude.
look any different. That was the funny thing about it.
Same material, everything.
Just
The
crazy.
jacked up high price.
And I remember being, I grew up in the 80s, and so we had the ripped jeans and everything, and we would make them out of, the Levi's or whatever, and we'd bleach them and throw them in the thing, or we'd rip them up and look like, the way they're supposed to. But then you'd go, like I said, you'd go to the store, and then you'd buy the same jeans that we could make, and they were $200. I just was doing the wrong thing. I should have made clothes for a living.
My sister-in-law's got that. I think she pays this off-the-wall price for these jeans that have holes in them. Strategically placed holes.
Yeah. You got to make them, man. That was part of the honor of doing the whole thing. It's like, hey, man, I made these, and I know I don't look like Bret Michaels, but My pants do, you know.
Yeah, but with one thing with Ratt was another one of those bands with a bunch of inner turmoil. I'm surprised they lasted though as long as they did. I mean, they lasted till 92, 93.
I think.
I think it was Point Break's, Nobody Rides for Free single was like the last song they recorded together is those 5.
That was a great song, by the way, too. That was, again, another movie that they must have had all the same agent where they're like, listen, love, we're going to put your song in a movie. You're going to be big. It's got Keanu Reeves in it. Who? He's somebody. Don't worry about him. Anyway.
Gary Busey?
Yeah, Gary Busey. Yeah.
Anybody remember Gary Busey in the movie Carney from, I believe it was like late 70s, very early 80s?
That's, you remember Meatloaf when he was in that movie Roadie? I was watching that on demand a couple weeks ago. That's why I brought that up.
Oh, that's awesome. He's also in that movie based on some Broadway show. I forget what it was.
Well, as far as Meatloaf goes, he was in one of the best movies. He was in Fight Club.
Was he really?
You don't remember that?
No.
Oh, you got to go back and watch that.
I have to watch Fight
Club.
I
think he's in the
it.
opening scene where he's like, this is Bob. Bob has, bitch tits. So, yeah, watch it. He's actually in that. He's actually pretty good in that one. He takes his shirt off, and it's probably about as pretty as if I were to take my shirt off. So, but as far as inner turmoil goes, again, these guys can't get along. They can't, they're making tons of dough, but you're right. They lasted quite a while, and unfortunately, they're another one that never could get back all the way together because of Robin Crosby had AIDS, and actually, what I had heard prior to that was before he got that, he kind of ballooned up. He was kind of a big guy, and they told him we want to do a reunion, but not with you.
Yeah, he'd have to lose the weight.
You don't look right anymore. And maybe that's part of the spiral that happened there as well.
A lot of people think he died of AIDS. He didn't die of AIDS. He died of a heroin overdose. As odd as that one is.
Well, he had AIDS, though, right? Okay.
Yep. Yeah, he had AIDS, but the autopsy, whatever, it wasn't the AIDS that killed him. It was a heroin overdose.
He was in it really deep, heroin. And I had heard a story. I know a guy that actually bought most of his guitars from that era. And the story was that he was so strung out, he actually sat on a corner in Hollywood and was selling them to people passing by. Now, I myself, being a guitar player, know the value of what those are.
Yeah.
Now they'd just be crazy price, And then...
And he didn't get anything for it, probably.
Nothing, nothing really at all. I mean, probably a couple $100 per, And some of the guitars that he has then, the companies won't even make now. And I've been trying to get some of those. They won't even do it anymore, know. So, to be that gone where you're selling your custom-made instruments on Hollywood Boulevard, for a couple $100 a piece to get high,
That sucks.
Yeah, it just shows you how far he slid, the King was great, King Crosby. I miss him like a lot of other people. It would have been great to see all those guys together because they're all still playing. They're all still doing their stuff. So,
Piercy's been in Ratt 3 times now, I think.
Now he's doing his solo thing, and then I think he's got. I believe Ratt is kind of together, but they've changed their name to Ratt Bastards.
Really?
I believe so. I've seen
That's interesting.
They're in Vegas coming up pretty quick, and they change things like that around a little bit to kind of skate the law a little, to keep going and making money for themselves and not paying the organization or whatever. So I'd still see it if it was here. I'd check it out.
Oh yeah. They should come. We should try and get them here.
Oh, totally.
One of the coolest things I always heard with Ratt was, at the time, must have been 83, 84. Motley Crue's opening for Ozzy. Their stint with Ozzy ends, and Ratt picks up the bottom or the last leg of the tour. I mean, talk about going, touring with Ozzy. I mean, you hear all the stories and whatnot.
Yeah, and you hardly hear anything with them two at all.
No.
I mean, Ratt and Ozzy. Well, you know, I don't think Ratt ever had...
I'd love to hear the stories.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Ratt never had the reputation that, well, nobody had of Motley Crue. And
Right.
what I heard was they were kicked off because they're really inciting Ozzy to do even worse, if you can imagine that. So Ratt probably... I think Ratt was probably more into the girls. I mean,
see that.
God, you see all the girls that were around them constantly, you know, which is...
Read Piercy's biography. Stephen Piercy, the vocalist. Half his book is like reading Penthouse Forum.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all women, women, women. And then there's, me and Bobby this, me and Bobby that, and women, women, women.
Yeah.
It's one of the funniest books I think I've read. Very close second to Motley Crue's The Dirt.
Which is my favorite biography. Now,
Oh, that book's great.
I'm sure, you know, us being doing what we do, I'm sure you're like me. I read biographies all the time. And so, you know, I told you not too long ago, I'm rereading Red by Sammy Hagar. And he goes through a lot of that stuff, too. And his is kind of funny because he...
Seeing aliens.
I didn't get to that part.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm screwing you up. Spoiler!
But he kind of went backwards where he was kind of a family guy in the beginning, and he just, you know, just kind of did things here and there, but then there came a point where just the floodgates opened, you know. And I always kind of wonder, if you're married to a rock star, do you think you can change them, or are you that good?
Yeah.
Or do you just not care, you know?
No.
Because it's got to be one of those, because you got to know if with a rock star on tour, man, it's, you know.
When the barn door opened, was this when he was was a member of Van Halen?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so he was trying to pull that Roth bit up.
Yeah, you know, and the way he explains it, it's always interesting to hear people's perception, because I was like, you know, I'm such a great guy, but this one time, you know, they always kind of have that from their perspective. It's like, come on, man, just admit that, you know, it was there all the time, you know. You got tons of girls, money, and drugs. You're going to say you're just going to walk by all three of them? No, you're taking scads of it with you everywhere. You know?
I'm going to get crucified for this, but I'm not much of a Van Hagar fan.
No, you know, does it seem to you that there's always a division in Van Halen? Guys like Roth, women like Hagar.
Yeah.
I rarely see the two cross over. I do know a little bit here and there, but I grew up with Van Halen with Roth, so I always look at it as Roth Van Halen, not Hagar. And they did some okay stuff, but man, no matter how big and popular Van Hagar ever got, they never did anything like Ice Cream Man.
No.
You know what I mean?
Well, one thing funny with Van Halen, when they got back with Roth, one of the things I thought was cool was, I think it was Atomic Punks. It's like one of the biggest Van Halen, like national tribute bands, whatever. Then they stopped, and then they started doing Hagar. That was short-lived, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Back to Ratt, we're getting off squirrel. One of the coolest things with Ratt, you had one of the hottest models at the time, Tawny Katane, who everybody probably knows from Whitesnake videos. But her legs were on the cover of the EP.
Yeah.
She was on her hands and knees on Out of the Cellar. And then she was getting dressed probably to meet Robin Crosby, who she dated or was dating at the time, on the cover of Invasion of Your Privacy.
No, Invasion, actually, that wasn't Tawny Katane. That was Marianne Gravatt. That was Stephen Piercy's girlfriend, I believe.
I'm almost positive. According to Wikipedia.
Oh, because they're always...
Well, yeah, Wikipedia is always right. What are you talking about, man?
But I know she was on the cover of the second one.
Invasion, or
No.
Out of the Cellar.
Out of the Cellar. I
You can't count
absolutely
the EP as an album. Come on.
Well, you know, I always kind of do, because you always had, like, Motley Crue had, you know, the Leather Records version. Then you had, you know...
Right.
I always kind of count those in my head, because Wasp did the same thing, as far as I know, right?
Well, they had a single. They
Okay.
had the Animal single,
Okay.
by F Like a Beast, but then they
Leap.
put out the full, yeah. The other funny thing with Ratt, and we'll probably end on this note, when MTV used to do music, it's before Jersey Shore and I don't know, whatever they do now, what is it, Pregnant in 16 or whatever that
I haven't
Farrah
watched
chick
MTV
is.
probably for 20 years, you know?
They were one of the very first bands on Unplugged.
Yeah, you
Beating
know...
Kiss to this. I think Great White did it after Ratt.
there was a lot of bands who did those that we forgot about.
Yeah.
They were probably the biggest that we forgot about. I kind of forgot that Stevie Ray Vaughan did that. You know, seeing him on MTV, that was kind of a weird thing. You had who was one of the bigger Alice in Chains. You know,
Theirs was great.
yeah, they're some of the versions on that Unplugged I liked better than the album version.
Yeah.
You know? So, but I don't even know if Ratt's Unplugged is available anywhere.
I don't think so. Probably one of those things we'll find on YouTube or bootleg.
Yeah, I mean, I think that we really need to find that because I only saw it like just things of it here and there, and you know.
We'll save our money, so if we can't find it, we'll buy it, and then we can put
Yeah.
it on the show. With a whole Metal Dude episode of the acoustic Ratt.
We'll do like a commentary as we're going, you know, going through it. But yeah, I completely forgot, and that was in the '90s too, you know. So that's kind of crazy that they did that, you know.
Well, on that note, everybody.
All right, so this is another edition of That Metal Dude. I'm Mick Rotella. This is Chucky, and keep the horns high.